Alrighty. All right, so we're going to start off with two halachas from Chavetz Chaim, Lashon Hara, and also a shiur on loving kindness. And Bezrat Hashem, this should stand as a zchut for the refuah shlema of all of Am Yisrael. Amongst them, Chagit Renana Bat Sarah and Chaya Bat Beya, who are both suffering from the mahala. Hashem should send them and envelop them with a complete healing. B'karov, b'rachamim, amen. Do not be like Korach and his followers. If a person provokes controversy by speaking Lashon Hara, he transgresses this prohibition. The person who accepts Lashon Hara might also transgress this prohibition. Number 2, do not your distress your kinsman. If a person embarrasses someone by speaking about his past deeds, his family, his lack of intelligence, or any other upsetting flaws, he transgresses this prohibition. The same applies to rechilut. If a person tells someone how another spoke against him, he transgresses this prohibition. It is forbidden to do so in private, and it is even worse to do so in public. B'ezrat Hashem, we should safeguard our mouths. Godliness in the mirror. Man was put on the earth with a difficult mission, to emulate God, to walk in his ways and to cleave to him, the Torah commands. Upon no other creature in creation does this grand expectation rest. Only man must strive for godliness, because he alone is equipped to do so. Only man was created in the image of Hashem. The challenge each person faces in his life is to seek out this element of godliness in himself and strengthen it by emulating Hashem's ways. Acts of chesed are the means to that end. To emulate Hashem, a person must comprehend his nature. Man's knowledge of Hashem is limited to what he sees of him in this world. He is the creator, the healer, the protector, the comforter, the giver, the sustainer of all life. He gives bread to all flesh, says Tehillim. Every creature in creation is sustained by Hashem's giving hand. There is a form of nourishment and shelter provided for everything from the amoeba to the elephant. Therefore, the most effective way for a person to emulate Hashem is for him to give and care for others. The more he expresses his desire to do kindness, the more precisely he reflects the image of Hashem. B'ezrat Hashem, we should learn from the holy, wise wisdom of the Chavetz Chaim. Amen. Okay, so today we're talking about Parshat Behalotecha, journeys, the journey of our life. How do we see it? How do we travel it? And B'ezrat Hashem, lots of wisdom, lots of practical wisdom in this week's Parsha that we can, B'ezrat Hashem, take away from today's shiur. So we travel, and we travel. That's the story of our lives. We're always traveling from the desert to the promised land, station by station, always stepping off at one point or another. And it starts off sometimes very smoothly, and then eventually we get met by politics and rebellion and inner fetching and whining. And we remember the whining of our holy ancestors that were rebelling against this whole journey of life. They're on the way to the promised land. They're exiting slavery, and yet they still are not satisfied. Their inner cravings, their inner lusts, their inner desires are taking force of them, and they can't enjoy the journey. They're stopping and they're saying, why do we have to stop? They're going, they're saying, why do I have to go? And every point of the way, they're kvetching and they're whining. Anybody in that journey? Anybody in that journey? I'm there. 2 hands up for me. We're all, that's the story of our lives. This is the journey of life. Always, all we're trying to do is to reach that promised land, to reach Eretz Yisrael. What is that promised land? That's the place of infinite potential, the godliness in me, the real me, the higher me, the godly me. And I'm going there. I'm getting there, and there are obstacles on the way, and there's all kinds of politics in my home going on, and rebelliousness in my family, and I don't see that as being part and parcel of my personal journey to my personal promised land. The Parsha begins with the words, Ve'amarta elav bahalotcha et hanerot mul pnei hamenorah ya'iru shiv'at hanerot. When you light the lamps, the 7 lamps shall cast their light toward the face of the menorah. Rav Kook explains, what is this menorah? The menorah is the light of wisdom, divine wisdom. The idea of being able to light up ourselves to the point where we are facing Hashem's godly wisdom. Rabbi Nachman brings another beautiful insight and says, what is everyone's menorah? We each have, we spoke about this before, every single one of us has an Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, David HaMelech, a Korach inside of us, a Bil'am HaRasha. We all have a part. That's why the Torah is the Torah of us. We each have those little characters, those puppets that pop up every so often that'll show their true face, and we have to use the inner characters inside of us to be able to fight off those rebellious characters inside of us. And so Rabbi Nachman says that every single one of us has a Kohen Gadol that every day lights the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash. We carry within us that Beis HaMikdash. And every single one of us has the tafkid and the chova to light up our own inner menorah. Where is this inner menorah inside of us? Rabbi Nachman explains, look how beautiful. 2 nostrils, 2 eyes, 2 ears. That's the shape of the menorah. And then the mouth at the base of it. Those are the 7 lamps. The 7 lamps are the face of every human being. We are meant to light up our lives and light up our souls through these 7 openings. These are the 7 openings by which our soul interacts with this world. This is the way our soul expresses itself within ourselves and to the outer world. And so our tafkid is to safeguard these beautiful 7 openings, and through that attach ourselves to what's called da'at Eloki. What is da'at? Today we want to get into it just a little bit. There's chokhmah, there's bina, and there's da'at. Chokhmah is the initial spark of wisdom that comes to us when we have like the spark of this great idea. That's chokhmah. That's wisdom that we get from Hashem. That's a gift from Hashem. That's the initial spark of an idea. Then there's bina. The tafkid of bina is we're supposed to take that initial idea and start tearing it apart. Starting to analyze it. Is it really a good idea? Is it coming from the holy source? Is it coming from my Yetzer Hara? Where is it coming from? Analyzing that idea. Through that bina, we boneh. We build up the idea to really see it for what it's worth. And that eventually leads to da'at. It gives birth to the da'at. Chokhmah in the Sfirot is Zachar, is the male aspect. Bina is the female aspect. And the child is da'at. That is what's born from the Chokhmah and the Bina. If we do the proper avoda from Chokhmah, Bina, we will give birth to da'at. What is da'at? Da'at is the emotional bridge that connects that which I know to that which I feel. What do women constantly come to me and write to me and tell me, I know what you're saying, Orit, it's 100%. I hear what you're saying. I know Hashem is in the world. I know Hashem is the one who built this situation. I know that there's beauty in it. But why don't I feel it? Why am I so emotionally a wreck? Why do I feel like I just can't give of myself, not to my family, not to my kids? And we're going to work on that today, the idea of giving and the idea of how do I give? That's one of the big part of our journey in life, is how am I able to really be godly giving? How am I able to really give of myself without feeling like I'm taking from myself, without robbing from myself? And so the idea to understand that when we work on our eyes, our ears, that which we see, that which we hear, the nostrils, meaning that which I take in, the spiritual aspect. The nose is the only holy act that we use out of all the senses that we have. That which we smell is the only untamed, holy, spiritual act that we do, because the nose, the smelling has only to do with the neshama. It's a purely spiritual act. And that which I speak as well, we know everything could be used. I could see holy, I can see unholy. I can hear holy, I can hear unholy. I could speak holy, I can speak unfortunately unholy. But smelling, if I'm using my nostrils properly, I will never have to ever smell anything bad. If I'm smelling something bad, that is like a direct note from Hashem that if I'm smelling something, there's definitely something going on in my neshama that I need to pay attention to. It's interesting because I found myself the other day speaking with a friend of mine on a bench, and no matter where we sat, we kept smelling a smell of garbage emanating. I was like, okay, Hashem, you're really trying. Something's going on here. Okay, what is so smelly in my neshama? What do I need to pay attention to in my neshama? But the idea is smelling is a very holy act, which is why we smell, to transition ourselves from Kodesh L'chol, right, the Havdalah, the Basamim.
So let's say you're in a place that has a natural smell. There's cows there.
Right.
So does that mean the person who smells it like to the extreme, well, is because they have more work that Hashem wants them to work as somebody else?
Yeah.
It's not a great smell.
Right.
Zemashiyesh.
Right. So if you're spiritually in tune with your neshama, you don't just pay attention to the smells, you pay attention to everything. But the smell is usually something that really catches our attention because it's a very...
bothers you or smell?
Every smell. When we smell something, it's breathing in. It's nothing tangible. It's nothing that I can see.
Example, yesterday we were driving through Zora. The smell of cow.
Right.
Some people like when something
Right.
is so good.
Right.
The nature.
Right.
I hate this, but
Yeah, when you're at the chuppah, you don't want the wind blowing that way because that's not
Right.
the smell that you want to pick up.
Right.
They were lucky.
Right.
They were lucky.
Oh, you were talking about a smell yesterday at a chuppah.
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
I
you
see.
can't, or anywhere in Sora you smell a little bit.
Right.
The difference is if the wind is blowing,
Mm-hmm.
then, it can really
Right.
make a chuppah not feel
Right.
as,
So depending on where I am, for some people they'll smell it, and I could be standing here, and you could be standing here, and I'll smell it, and you won't. Hashem
No,
does
not
that.
something like that. I think it's just...
It'll hit me
She
differently.
was asking something interesting. She said, what if it's a good
The
smell?
same
If I go for a walk and the smell of lavender or something
That'll
is
feed
out
your
there,
neshama. That'll
so
feed
that's
your.
a good thing.
That's
It's not what I'm supposed to
no.
look at and
Right,
say.
right. It's a good thing. That means Hashem is feeding you the neshama. He's giving you a special gift of being able to smell that, to be able to inhale that. And the fact is, right? What do? We take it in. It becomes a part of us. It becomes mamish a part of us, right? Nishmat Adam, right? That's how we became an Adam, is through the breathing. Hashem breathed into us. And so the idea of us taking these 7 lamps and using them, we have to understand how important it is to be careful what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we say. That is our menorah. That is our menorah, and we have to be very, very careful with that. Now,
Can I just, if it's not
Yeah.
too much now, if not, I'll send you an email. I'd like to know, where is this coming from that you're talking about the smell? Can you elaborate, or can I just?
I'll talk to, yeah. There's a lot of midrashim that talk about the whole idea of smelling. Yeah. I'll elaborate on it. There's a lot of material. I just want to be able to get on everything. So the whole idea of seven, Rabbi Nachman says, has to do with the 7 clouds of glory, has to do with the 7 directions in life. There's also, the Lubavitcher Rebbe talks about the whole idea of the 7 planets, of the solar system. So let's go through just a little bit of these 7s. So the 7 clouds of glory, what were these seven clouds of glory? They were clouds that basically enveloped every Jewish person's consciousness. It's an exalted state of consciousness by attaching ourselves to the 7 clouds of glory. What is this exalted state of consciousness? Is being able to receive a higher sensitivity level to the knowledge of Hashem. In other words, if I have a keen awareness, if I live with Emuna, which is what Dot is, then I am attaching myself, in essence, to what's called the Aura Makif. And every person's head, there's an enveloping cloud of glory, the Or Makif, the surrounding light that surrounds, it's the aura, right? The aura, what we're taught by everyone, right? We see this now in the science. There's this new clip going around on the internet about the aura and the color of the aura and so on and so forth. The idea is for me to try to constantly attach myself to this aura, to this exalted state of consciousness, to be spiritually sensitive to the idea that Hashem is here. Hashem is living with us, that Hashem is constantly with us. The idea of the 7 planets, where does this come in? The 7 planets have to do with one's mazel. right? Everybody has a certain mazel. There's a lot of mahloket and a lot of different ideas of whether the mazel affects us or not, but the idea is every single one of us is born according to an astrological, right? The astronomy of where the planets are lined up exactly when I was born, and this dictates my midot and my nature. My mazel, what kind of a mazel am I going to have? How am I able to change my mazel? I'm able to change my mazel if I refine my midot. If I refine my midot, if I work on my character traits, if I really elevate myself, I have a tendency to become angry and I'm working on it, then I'm able to change my mazel through refining my midot, because then I'm switching the line, the channel of which all of my mazel. What is mazel? Mazel from the word nozel, that which pours. Mazel is connected to that which is being poured down to me. My mazel is the channel of godliness, of bracha that I am attached to in my life. I'm able to change that if I change my nature. Okay, we're understanding. So again, all this has to do, how do I do this all? By changing my menorah, by changing the way I interact and light up my soul, the way I interact with life. The Lubavitcher Rebbe writes a beautiful insight on the lighting of the menorah. He says every day, every afternoon, the Kohen HaGadol would come and he would light the menorah. But when he would come to light the menorah, he would find that the lamps were all cleaned, the purest oil was already poured, the wicks were prepared. Earlier in the morning, it was the tafkid of someone else to come in and to clean the entire menorah and just prepare it. So all he would have to do, in essence, would be to come and approach the menorah, do the physical act of lighting it, but it was all prepared for him. How would he be able to light the menorah? The Lubavitcher Rebbe brings down, it's if he would prepare himself, if he was to have ignited himself, his neshama, to light the menorah, it would almost light automatically. What does that mean for us? It means that every single one of us, every day Hashem prepares our menorah. He prepares the vessel, He gives us the purest oil, He gives us the wicks, He gives us the means to be able to light that menorah. It's us that we have to now, what did we say? We've been learning this the last few weeks. The idea of nothing comes down from Shemayim unless there's a pe'ula, there's an act that ignites it from here. In other words, Hashem pours down His shefa. If we don't open up our kli, we don't open up our vessel, if we don't prepare ourselves and ready ourselves to receive the shefa, we don't get it. We have to do some sort of an act. Some sort of an act of refinement, some sort of an act of discipline, some movement from down here to sort of press the button to get the shefa. And so Hashem says, I'm preparing everything. What did we say? Hashem is always sending down the shefa. We need to do something on our behalf to prepare our kli, to ready ourselves, to strengthen our kli, which means to refine ourselves to the point where we can accept the shefa and it doesn't break the kli, because all of Hashem's light is so grand, so grandiose, we have no idea what it means to be a recipient of full-blown heavenly blessings. We're like, shower it down, honey, pour it down to us, we want the bracha. But if we're not prepared to receive it, it's like pouring a massive amount of water into a fine crystal vase. It's going to break. It will break us. And what did we say last time? That light, the shefa, the delight that Hashem pours down to us ends up turning into esh. That light, which light could be used, right? Fire could be used for warmth, could be used for cooking, or it could be used, God forbid, for destruction. Right? Which at one point maybe we'll go into also the four elements of the soul, fire, earth, water, and air, how each one of us has one of those four elements, and depending on how we use it, it could be beautiful and nurturing, or it could be destructive. So the idea is for us to prepare our kli, prepare our vessel, so that the light that we receive doesn't, God forbid, burn us, but that it helps us build. It warms our soul. It gives us warmth and love. We say, oh, I feel Hashem's warm embrace, right? It's a beautiful feeling. That's what we want. So we have to prepare our kli for that. So if we are so what do we learn here from the Lubavitcher Rebbe? If we prepare ourselves properly, we'll not only be able to ignite our soul, but we will be able to radiate it to someone else. In other words, what is Am Yisrael? Am Yisrael is a collective soul. Each and every single one of us is an individual expression of the collective soul called Knesset Yisrael, called the Shechina HaKadosha. If every single one of us does our job, how could we not even think that it to be true that I affect someone in Alaska? I affect definitely someone who's in Kirvat Yad, someone who's in my home for sure. But I have the ability, every single one of us has the ability through refining our characters. When I'm home, just my husband and I, and he does something to bother me, and I decide to refine my behavior and not say that which I want to say, but lift it up and say, Hashem, help me not act animalistic, not be impulsive right now by answering him back and giving him a piece of my mind. Let me understand that I am lighting my menorah and it's radiating out. This holiness is radiating out to the rest of the Jewish nation. That we need to understand. We say to ourselves, but what am I really doing? I didn't cook for anyone. I didn't daven really anything special. But I worked on my midot. I've ignited my menorah today. And that's a very special, very, very special deed. And that we have to cherish, totally cherish. So I ask myself, how do I get to the point where I can really refine myself to the point where I can really give of myself to others? It's a very, very deep question that so many women struggle with. We all struggle with this. I want to be able to give of myself to a husband that's not appreciative. I want to be able to bake another pan of lasagna to kids, even though there's a chance that they're going to complain to me that it's too garlicky, too dry, not saucy enough. I want to be able to still cook for them with simcha. With simcha. How do I do it? So the mystical sources bring down that there are two ways that we can give. I can give from my soul. When I give, an act of giving from my soul is an act of giving with the mindset that I am investing. An act of giving from the body.
Wait, can you just say that again?
When I give with the mindset of the soul. In other words, it's called soul giving. How can I determine whether I've given from my soul or given from my body? It all depends on my mindset that I'm giving with the intention that I understand that it's an investment. Therefore, the hardship of giving, it's a lot less, right? It's a hardship that's worthwhile for me. It's worthwhile for me. I'm giving to someone, but I'm going to get dividends later. I know that I'm going to be receiving back. I'm not giving away thinking I'm giving it and it's nothing's going to come back. Nothing's in it for me per se, but I understand it's an investment. That's when I know that I'm giving from the soul, and we're going to talk soon about what that means in terms of my feeling. But then there's the giving from the body. Giving from the body, meaning giving from the place of the Yetzer Hara. What does that mean? It means that I feel that I'm sacrificing of myself in order to give to someone else. That feels like I'm being robbed. That feels like I'm taking away from myself. That causes resentment, displeasure, anger, frustration, a sense of, what do most women say? I can't do it anymore. I can't give of myself anymore. I'm drained. Who gives to me? Who's feeding me? I'm always giving. Who is giving to me? If we get to that point, that means we have given from the side of the Yetzer Hara. We have taken from the Sitra Achra. Literally, the Satan gave us koach. We took the koach from the Satan and we gave it to our family because it's not pleasurable for us.
So if a person wants appreciation for what they do, that means it's only coming from the body? Can it come from the soul?
If you want something back, you've taken from...
Heavy.
Yes. That's the truth, though. Look, I'm talking about ideals. In this class, 1 second, we only talk about ideals. That doesn't mean I'm there or any one of us. It's talking about understanding... I'm sorry, just 1 second. The idea of these shurim is to understand what's going on the soul level. What is going on inside of me? Knowledge is power. If I understand that that's where it's coming from, now I can start negotiating with myself. I could start talking within myself. I have ammunition to fight the battle. But if I don't know what's going on, if I don't understand the mechanism of my Yetzer Hara, I can't fight it. And so that's the idea. The idea is just for me to understand. Let me equip myself. Let me understand where it's all coming from. And that's why I want to make it practical enough for us to be able to fight it. Yeah.
But when you said you give from when you give from the soul, you're doing it as an investment. I read Rav Aroth recently.
Yeah.
Rabbi Shalom Aroth wrote that you should give only to give, not for anything.
Right.
But you're saying the soul, you're giving in order to get an investment. So
Hold on.
expecting something back.
No, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to further explain to you, and you're going to see at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same concept. Right.
I mean, sorry, it's like life doesn't, we're not always so privileged to be in a place where you have to give, like you
Right.
may not want to, but you have to.
Once a day I change the act of giving, though. It's great.
Change it once a day.
Once a day. One time. One time I made a cup of coffee for my husband, and I did it just for the sake of being able to emulate my godly soul. I'm already on the derech. Baby steps. We're talking about one step, once a week.
You said it's a sata, so that's kind of intense, like to say that it's...
I have to tell the truth. I mean, I have to tell the truth. We have to serve Hashem from ahava and yira. We have to know where we're taking. Yes, I think it's very important that we all understand where we're taking it from. Because why is it so true? Because if I'm giving and I feel like I'm not getting back, what is the whole Yetzer Hara? He gives us, but he always wants back. What's in it for me? That's the selfish Yetzer Hara. So if I'm giving and I'm expecting back, you understand where if you look at it, I'm not really telling you anything you didn't know, but I'm just making it more conscious. I'm just giving it a name, but it really, if you looked at it, we all know it. We all know it. We all know that when we give and we expect to get back, it's not coming from a really genuine place. We all know it. Am I saying anything new? Right?
I don't want to sound disrespectful to Hashem, but is there a concept that people might think doesn't Hashem give to us to get back?
Hashem doesn't get back, and what can I the fact that I can even, it's a very good question, I'm really glad you asked it, because some people will not have the guts to ask it, but it's important to ask. What is Hashem? What do you mean? Hashem doesn't need anything from us. Let's understand, he doesn't need anything from us. He's giving us
From us?
sometimes
I'll do things just because, like, he's so good to me, like that is motivation in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's not something he necessarily outlined.
Right.
I don't know, I feel like a tremendous obligation, not in a resentful way.
No, I understand.
But just like,
Hashem,
almost like a give and take.
okay, no, it's not a give and take. We're getting mixed up between effect, and consequence. The cause and effect relationship. That's what it is. In other words, Hashem says, look, I designed this world with a set of rules and instructions. You do this. This is what happens. You do this. This is what happens. So it's not a matter of expectation. Let's just this is something we learned also last week. For instance, well, Hashem expects me to do His will, and if not, I'm going to get sick or something, or He's going to punish me by whatever, giving me something else. That's not it. Hashem only created goodness. Lo titzena haraot min hashamayim is the pasuk we always have to remember. Nothing bad comes down from Shemayim. What does that mean? It means if I don't do what Hashem is telling me, I have put myself now in a position to be bitten by the lion in the lion's den. I put myself in the lion's den. Hashem says, don't go there. I'm telling you, don't go there. I want to go there. There's a consequence to my behavior.
Okay.
So it's not a matter of Hashem expecting something, and if you don't do it, this is what's going to happen. I did it to myself. Right? There's no avon there's no yisurim lelo avon. There's no such thing. If I didn't somehow create the reality where I'm susceptible to that blockage of light, of bracha coming down from Shemayim, then I wouldn't suffer the consequences.
Well, what about when it's just we could talk about a child, and the child is born with a terrible disease, and then that child didn't do anything to deserve it. That's just part of the child's tikkun. Because
Well,
of whatever
we
it
can't
has
make
to.
those cheshbonos. So like
We
we did something wrong, therefore we got we lost money because we weren't sneas that day.
I didn't say that we constantly have to piece messages together from Hashem, but we do have to know that Hashem is communicating to us. And in particular, when it's very uncomfortable, when I'm experiencing something uncomfortable, I need to understand Hashem just poked me. Ow! Okay, Hashem, what do you want? I need to understand that. It's coming from a place of love. Hashem's saying I have a blockage there, but it's like the turn on engine light. I can go to the mechanic and have that light turned off, but that's a beautiful thing for me. I know that I have to now take the car to mechanic. I don't want to get stuck in the middle of the highway. We have to understand that. It's a message. There's chesed in the message. That's the idea.
I think what it is, what you're saying is like when Hashem does so much for us, we have to do our gratitude. We have to just thank you
Right.
for giving me all these things.
It's not an expectation. It's for us. It's for us. It's for us. It's for us. We should want to say thank you because we understand that is ultimately, what we need to be doing. We want to express, live a life of gratitude. All right, we're going to also talk about that too because that's another part of the giving. So the whole idea is I need to ask myself, if I feel like I'm being robbed, I need to ask myself, where did I just give from? Because the goal in giving is to give. Not to again, we are talking ideals. I know you guys are going to think that, it is a high level, but I'm just saying the goal of giving is to be able to be a giver. It's to be able to be a giver. And when I invest myself in the other person, that should be pleasurable for me. That I'm able to actually plant a little bit of me in someone else. That for me is a pleasure. Now, if I'm giving from the part of my soul, then Hashem says, you're giving from a place that has no end. You're tapping into Ein Sof. You're tapping into the eternal channel of reception, of being a receiver. If I am doing that, and soon we're going to talk about what that means in terms of my state of consciousness, but if I tap in to that part of my soul and I give from a place of just wanting to be this altruistic, beautiful, benevolent, godly me, of being able to give for the sake of giving so that I can make this world an unconditional source of light, then Hashem says, I'll keep pouring it in. I'm always giving you gifts. If you take the gifts and want to keep it to yourself and you become so full of my gifts, there's no more room for me to give. So ultimately, we're the ones that stop the gifts from coming down. Hashem wants to give to us, but if I'm scared to give because I think I'm giving and it's taking away from myself, in essence, that means I'm giving from the wrong place. If I understand that the more I give, the more that I get, right? The more that I give, I empty myself out, allowing myself to be a tzinor, right? Allow myself to be a conduit, a channel for being able to receive and give more. Then I'm giving from a place of my soul, and then I never feel like I'm taking away from myself because it's constantly replenished. I'm giving milk, suddenly I see another milk. I'm giving this, I suddenly see, I'm getting something else. It's always you're going to see that. The more that we give from a place of our soul, we will never feel robbed. How do I do this? Only one way, and that is by living a life of gratitude. If I am so full, if I feel like I am so packed with yummy goodies that Hashem is giving me all day long, I'm so full. Hashem, thank you so much. What you gave me koach today, you gave me this yummy coffee today, you gave me the ability to make this yummy dinner today. Thank you, Hashem, I'm so full. It's the natural result of it. It's going to overflow. I'm not going to even feel like I'm giving anything. It's just going to naturally flow to others. If I live a life of gratitude, if I can see the good, beautiful gifts that Hashem gives to me in my life, I am then able to give from my soul, and I will never, ever, ever feel robbed. So when I say I can't give anymore, listen to what I'm saying. The ani in me, the ego. What is the ani? The ani is the ego. The ego can't give anymore. You're absolutely right. I can't give anymore. So I have to change the I, and I have to understand that it's really I, the neshama. My neshama has to be giving, and no longer the I, the body. We getting this? Anybody has?
Tired or it's ill. What if the body's sick or like got a virus or?
We're going to talk about this. So now I want to talk about this. What happens, right? What happened? Right. Okay, absolutely. But with all that, let's take the idea of a body, right? A body has different organs. Sometimes the lungs have to give, sometimes the lungs have to take, sometimes, right, the heart has to give, sometimes the heart has to take, takes blood, pumps blood, right? You have to have that give and take. But the give and take, the take doesn't have to come from somebody else. The take could be taking just from Hashem. If I can't get what I need from those around me, from the messengers of Hashem. Who is my husband? He's a messenger. Who are my kids? They're a messenger. Who's my neighbor? Messenger. Who are the people in my life? They are messengers. They're the intermediaries from what Hashem gives me. They are the ones that bring me what Hashem wants to give me anyway. If I can't get from those, I do what's called bypass surgery. I bypass them and I go straight to the source. And I get what I need from Hashem. That is the give and take. When I feel like I'm at a point where nobody's giving me the time of day, nobody's validating me, nobody's saying even thank you, it doesn't seem like anyone appreciates anything, I go straight back to Hashem. I connect myself back to Hashem, and I say, Hashem, I'm giving for the sake of you, fill me up. Fill me up. I'm running on empty right now. Fill me up. I need to go back to the source of being connected to you so that I can give from you and not give of myself from the sheker, from the idea that I have something of my own. I have nothing of my own. I have nothing of myself to give. I'm an empty vessel. Fill me up, Hashem. I need you to give to me so I can be a good shaliach. That's why we daven every day. Please make me a good shaliach. Shaliach ne'eman shel HaMelech. Every morning I say, Hashem, make me a shaliach ne'eman shel HaMelech. I should be a loyal servant of you, a loyal emissary. I should always be able to give just good, connected to you, Hashem. And then if someone is along the way putting the rebellion, this is where we go back to the journey of the Jews in the desert. I'm in a desert. I feel like I'm all empty. There's rebelliousness voices going on inside of me. There's politics going on inside of me. Should I give? Shouldn't I give? There's whining and fetching, but again I have to give. There's all of those little characters inside of me that are fighting inside of me. So I have to go back and I have to understand that I have to connect back to my source. Connect back, go beyond the inner voices, go beyond everything, quiet them down, understand that they're an illusion, they're obstacles in my way, for me to be able to recognize them, reflect on them, and go beyond them and attach myself to the place of all giving. Okay? So we went a little bit less punching me on this one? Okay.
I just wanted to add,
Yeah.
that in the course of my journey, one of the tactics that came to me was when I'm in many situations throughout the day, before I react, because I used to be an unbelievably reactive person, my first thing I say is, okay, what is this about?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
just to take action right away. Like, I think a baseline is to start even just recognizing those messages you're getting throughout the day.
Right, 100%.
And through the stress of this and that, it's so easy to just react.
Yes.
And we're all programmed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if, just to try to A, hear what Hashem's saying, and then B, just,
Right.
Even just say, okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I know I'm not going to react.
Right.
I'm not going to
Right.
have that normal reaction.
What do you do? But then what do you do with those reactive feelings? That's the question.
Well,
This is where the
sure,
problem
it's a
starts.
process. Yeah,
Wait,
of
what do you?
course.
No, but what do you do with it?
What is the word?
What do you do with that? It's very easy for us not to respond.
Replace it with.
No, what do you do with it? Those feelings are there now. That's it. I have now taken my anger, held myself back, and not responding.
I go, let go.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's perfect. That's the idea. That's the idea, is to not let it sit and harbor inside of us. If we let that sit, let me tell you, 99% of all the physical illnesses that we all experience today come from repressed feelings.
Sure.
Come from repressed emotions, from our inability to express that which we really feel, the baggage. Do you have any idea? Imagine a person can't go more than 2-3 days, chas v'shalom, I'm sorry, excuse my language, but without going and going to the bathroom. It's garbage. It's toxin. It's living with those emotions. It's toxin. It's toxin. Rab Dessler, his whole Torah is Torat HaNefesh. He says, what is an impure heart? An impure heart is a heart that holds on to emotions that have not been let go. Because we fall into a place of such anger within ourselves. We're carrying such horrible feelings within ourselves. It doesn't allow us to serve Hashem.
Over time, I started taking on, for each midah, I took on something to help me undo the midah. Like I started reading the Igeres Rambam in English.
Oh, good.
I had gotten it from a shir once. And I started reading that, and it even says if you read it even once a week, it'll, Hashem will automatically. And then when I felt like I get very caught up with Lashon Hara, I started reading.
Right.
I'm saying it's a process.
Of course it's a process. It's a journey. We're a journey. Of course.
I lost it again. Like once you have the awareness, you don't want to lose it.
No, it should be the other saying, oh wow, this time I did it. These other times I didn't, but now I was cognizant.
I
and
journal
I
a lot.
wow.
I always say, tshuva, the process of tshuva, and we're slowly treading towards Rosh Hashanah. Remember this, tshuva is not just about aviti, hatati, pashati. It's not just that. It's, wow, I succeeded. I did good. Kol hakavod. This year, I didn't get angry every time I needed to get angry. I didn't yell every time I wanted to yell. I did chesed sometimes even when I didn't really feel. It's celebrating also that which I did do. That's also part of the tshuva process. Because if I don't encourage myself, if I don't have those pom-poms and cheerleaders behind me saying, go, girl, go, then I won't have anything to keep me going. So part of the process of tshuva, which is the idea of doing cheshbon nefesh, which is what we're talking about every day to let go, right? Let go of those feelings, which is, in essence is tshuva. Self-therapy, we have different words of saying it. But the whole idea is for me to let, also acknowledge, celebrate. The many women that I counsel, I say to them, celebrate your success. Go out, get that cup of coffee you wanted, get those shoes you always wanted to also the body also needs to be compensated. The body also has a hard job to sort of constantly being tamed and being tamed. You have to sometimes I always say, throw a bone to your Yetzer Hara sometimes. You do. You have to sometimes really. Yeah, exactly. Throw something to the Yetzer Hara. You got to appease him. That was one of the reasons why they did Azazel, right? We know this on Yom Kippur, why they threw the goats, right? It's to give a bone. That's what the Midrash says. It was to give a bone to the Yetzer Hara. Keep him occupied with something else so that the Jews can go ahead and do tshuva. What? Oh, really? There's a song? I didn't even know.
Remember that?
No.
Bingo was it?
Oh! Okay, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Who knows?
Wouldn't that be funny if that
I know, yes. I wouldn't be surprised. At this point, I would not be surprised. So the idea is for us to understand that it's a journey. But where are we going? Keep your eye on the ball, as they say. We're going to the promised land. That is our journey of life. And so we stop by station and station. And sometimes we have to erect our sanctuary, right? The Mishkan. Sometimes we have to close it down. What sets us forth on the journey? Two things. One, the lighting of the menorah, which we just spoke about. And number two, the sounding of two beautiful silver trumpets. The two trumpets get blown in the air to declare that we are now ready to go on our journey. So the two tools that we have to set forth on our journey is, number one, to remember to light our menorah. Be careful what I hear. Be careful what I see. Be careful what I inhale. Be careful. And inhale also means that which I allow to become part of me, right? Be careful what I speak and how I speak and the words that I choose to speak. Do you know that there's actually a very true teaching in the Torah that says that every person comes down into this world with an allotment of the amount of words that they're given. Do we know this? Yeah. Right? And if you minus the divrei Torah, they're not included in the words. You minus divrei Torah, which is not considered in the allotment of the words, then the less we speak, right, the more life we will live. Because in essence, the word, and we said this also before, the words that we speak, the expression of my soul that comes from my mouth is actually the palace where each one of us are building in Olam Haba. The words of yearning, the words of longing, of craving to be one with Hashem, to see the truth, to live a life of truth. And so the sound of the trumpets are there. Those are my wake-up calls. Whenever I set out, whenever you're about to set out on your journey to reach another destiny, another tikkun, another place of elevation for your soul, you're going to hear the trumpet sound. What are these trumpets? They're wake-up calls. Be careful! You're about to enter danger zone. Something going on, some sort of a sound to waken up, to spiritually get us to understand that we're about to endure something else in our lives. Those are the two parts, the two aspects of us starting out our journey that we have to remember. The positive is the lighting of the soul. The negative, so to speak, are the trumpets sounding to tell us, be careful. You have to be careful where you're going. Be careful of your ways. Be careful of your steps. You have to be very aware and very alert of where you're about to go. And so, Be'ezrat Hashem, I say that if we take it into consideration, that again, everything that I do, everything that we do in the four corners of our home, we are expressing the individual expression of our soul, but it's intimately connected to the collective soul of Am Yisrael. And that's what the Kohen Gadol did. He lit the menorah for the sake of us all. When I light my menorah, I'm radiating it out to everyone else. And I have to be proud of that. I have to, like I said, celebrate my success. Celebrate the times when I was able to give from that soul. If I took pleasure from giving, if I didn't feel like it took anything away from me, even though I didn't get validation, appreciation, or words of wisdom from someone else, or any acknowledgement. That's what they say. The highest level of giving is when you give without receiving. That's in the treasure box. I always tell my children, you did a mitzvah, don't tell me about it. Don't tell anybody about it. Keep it. It's for Hashem's treasure box. That's only for Hashem. Because what they say, Masha savmui mi'ayin mevuach. Whatever is not seen by someone else, right, is blessed. If I go and I boast about it, I'm already taking down from the value. And so the idea is to do for the sake of doing, not because I'm actually receiving. And if I'm lost, if I'm lacking, if I'm closed, if I'm imprisoned, that means I'm in a place of slavery. I'm in my Mitzrayim. What's my derech? Go back and connect to Hashem. Open up that plug, connect to Hashem, yearn and beg, and unclog that pipe, and Bezrat Hashem, the Shefa comes down. So I say, sound the trumpets, and light your menorahs, and let's start off on our journey. Ki Bezrat Hashem, this journey, where is it taking us? It's taking us to difficult months ahead. The month of Tammuz, the month of Av. There are difficult things, different stations in our life that we're about to endure. And Bezrat Hashem, if we do our avoda now, during the month of Sivan, Bezrat Hashem, we'll have the zchut to be able to really be successful on our journey. Amen.